If you go to Harlem right now, same buildings, right? Remember 20, 15, 20 years ago, they were selling brownstones in Harlem for $1.
For $1.
But when white people moved in, it's psychologically. Black people move in, there goes the neighborhood. White people move in, here it comes.
My question is, will you be willing to take a very close look into the appraisal industry to address the economic and racial disparities within the process of becoming an appraiser? And who are these appraisers? For they are the ones who are licensed to put the values on the properties in our districts, as these values are the driving force in gentrification and displacement in our districts. How will you begin to address such a complicated issue?
Well, the Brookings Institute did an exhaustive study, and it talked about how our houses are devalued to almost $6 billion because black people live there.
When we look at black wealth, the majority of that wealth on the balance sheet of black families is their housing equity. And we are now at the lowest rate of homeownership in this country. The other thing I have to mention, because it's in the context of property, is our appraisal system and the ways in which appraisers work. That is something that we need to think about, and how that impacts the values that are put on certain communities to ensure that we don't have negative effects that further devalue property and the opportunity for communities of color.
If you look at gentrification is black people getting enough to move out and white people moving in.
Gentrification that's occurred over the last several years, how neighborhoods all of a sudden that didn't seem valuable have changes in racial and income dynamics and all of a sudden become very, very valuable. Who benefits from that and who loses?
The real estate appraiser comes and appraises my home. This home was 3 years old, 2.5, 3 years old. Appraised it at so low that the bank wondered, was this it had to be damaged or repossession or destroyed or whatever. So he took real wealth from me just because he could, and I was black.
And you're the first person in 3.5 years who has ever raised the question of who becomes the appraiser, and now that has an impact on the process. I congratulate you and thank you. Now, I don't know how people become an appraiser. I don't know if that is city or state. Does anyone know how someone becomes an appraiser?
We definitely think in Detroit, and we would say this for other urban cities, that there needs to be an appraisal reform.